The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
Welcome to Mastering Local Marketing. My name is Matt Hansen, and I'm your host today. And Jim is on vacation this week. He decided that when we were going to get some snow, he decided to go probably somewhere warm. But I am here with Mont Handley today, and Mont is one of my favorite people, just to hear the stories of things that he has done in the past. Everything that we talk about here is about marketing, but in relation to you, I wanted to kind of go back into your history and where you are today and how you've listened to both the customer and an industry, which has led you down a really interesting path. You're probably tired of talking about it, but we love talking about it here. And I just wanted to, introduce you, Mont. Give me a little bit of a story about your background.
Sure. Grew up in Crown Point. Started working at my grandfather's Tasty Freeze at 12. Didn't really know what to do with the money I earned, so I bought a greenhouse. It was just something I really liked, had a passion for. Don't ask me why. Wasn't involved in any kind of family business that had greenhouses. I just thought it would be kind of cool. So, fast forward, I graduate from college and I start managing 5 locations of a retail nursery, greenhouse, Frank's Nursery and Crafts in the area. And just really kind of love that industry. And during that time period, I had a brainstorm of a product idea, a replacement for Canadian sphagnum peat, which is something that's actually from a natural resource that represents only 3% of the Earth's land surface, peat bogs, but they sequester a third of all the carbons. So as we're exploiting this resource, we're actually destroying the planet's ability to heal itself from too much carbon in the atmosphere. So
going back, right, you bought a greenhouse, you said this is a good idea, and how old were you?
12.
12, right? So normal 12-year-old, right?
Yes.
So you bought a greenhouse, you worked in a nursery. What was kind of the passion behind the nursery type?
I just like the idea of I could actually physically see the things growing. I could, my effort, my work could be, almost like a visual representation of the effort, you know? And so I just like the fact that I could grow things from seed or cuttings and turn around and sell them for way more than I put into it.
Right. So it's kind of symbolic of your entire career, right? Get started with seeds and growing and so forth. So let's go back to the startup, right?
Sure.
So pit moss and all this carbon and all these issues that we have out there. And we don't want to get into the technical side of it, but to understand it, right? So how did you get into that area? Was there a news report that you saw, some kind of research you were doing?
The very first memory I have about specifically that product was I was delivering truckloads of Canadian sphagnum peat moss at my locations, my store locations. And I was like, you know what? Where does this come from? What is it? So I started to do a little research. And back then there was no internet. I mean, this was pre-internet days. Right. So I'd actually go to a library and I'd pull up the microfiche or things like that. And I found an article. It was a Sierra Magazine article. The Sierra Magazine's like the magazine of the Sierra Club. And it talked about how peat bogs were such an important element in the balance of the planet.
Okay. And from that point on, you went, okay, I need to do something?
Yeah. My thought was I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea about what product it would be. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when this idea started to filter in about sphagnum peat moss, the first idea was someone should come up with an alternative.
Well, you said me, right?
I could come up with an alternative.
There you go.
So it was just a search for what we could use.
Okay. So when you went down that search for what you could use, obviously you tried a bunch of different materials. Was there was there a partner or somebody that kind of influenced you along the way?
No, there was about a 3-year period where I was sort of doing kitchen table experiments. When I moved out into my first apartment, my mom gave me a hand-me-down Cuisinart food processor. Don't know many people who are 24 years old and whipping up things in a Cuisinart,
right.
But so I started blending up soils, and I would mix paper or cardboard or whatever, and a bunch of organic additives, and then I'd put it on the kitchen counter, or the windowsill rather, and put some seeds in it, and a few days later it might come back to like a 3 inches of mold growth,
right.
Or I'd walk into my hallway in the apartment complex and I'd smell something way before I got into my apartment, and I knew that wasn't the answer. So
it wasn't your cooking, right?
No, my cooking's actually pretty good. You can tell from my.
So, all right. So you started this new company, and what was it called?
At the first part, it was called Nupeat, Nupeat.
Okay.
And from that, there's a association, kind of like the OPEC of Canadian sphagnum peat moss.
Okay.
The Canadian Sphagnum Peat Moss Association, and I got a really threatening letter from the president of the association that if I used the word peat in any of my products, they would sue me into oblivion. Paraphrasing that, but
right.
That's pretty much what it said.
Wow, those are fun to get. Right?
Well, my thought was, they're scared of me.
Right.
This is awesome.
Exactly. So you've triggered something here, right? They've noticed you. You're onto something. You're solving a problem. So then you get this letter, basically says, do not put peat in the name.
Yeah.
And you said, I need to create a new name, right?
Sure.
So you go down that process, and which is always fun, right? Because you've established yourself in one area, and now you get the message. So where did that go?
So I realized that the name was not as important as actually the physical property. So I worked on just improving the product. I went through and got a small business innovation research grant from SBIR, from the EPA. Did side-by-side research analysis down at Purdue in the greenhouses in West Lafayette. And I remember the researchers saying one day when I walked in the greenhouse, "You're going to be rich. This is great." I'm like, "Fantastic. Where's my Bentley and beach house?" So, from there, then it got to be serious. Okay, time to have packaging, time to have a name. So we went back to the drawing table. But this time I'd already transferred out to Pittsburgh because I took a job with as the national sales director for the tourism office out there. And so I had 2 co-founders were sitting around a table, and the idea was, well, they never said that we couldn't use the word moss. It's peat moss.
Right.
So I said, well, there's Spanish moss, there's Irish moss, and somebody said, what about Pittsburgh moss? And my other co-founder was like, what about Pitt Moss? Famous university in Pittsburgh, Pitt.
Right.
So Pitt Moss it was. And we just stopped right there. We're like, we will never do anything better than this.
That's better than Mont Moss, right?
Well, it could have been Hoosier Moss. It could have been Region Rat Moss. It could have been, but I couldn't find any resources to help me build the plant out here.
Yeah,
so.
That's funny. So I know, you've served in the military, just to give a little bit of background, and that helped you with a variety of things as you went through in launching this, right? A lot of structure and those types of things. But you got a phone call at one point, didn't you?
Yeah. I think you're probably talking about the call for Shark Tank?
I am.
So, yeah, we're just doing our thing. There was an association based in Pittsburgh that had done an article about us, and it was like their front page article, the National Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses, and it was a really complimentary article. They said, hey, most of our veterans are opening up bars and things like that. They don't really aren't offering planet-saving peat alternatives, So it was like, okay, cool. So from that, the Small Business Administration in Pittsburgh said, hey, we recently got an email from Shark Tank. They're looking for veteran-owned businesses to feature on their next season for a veteran special, and I was like, can we recommend you? Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right. Yeah. I think everybody wants to get that call at some point, right?
Yeah, sure. But the guys I was working with at that time, they're so grounded. They were like, okay, sure, you're going to get on Shark Tank. Absolutely. Yeah, this is a good strategy.
Right.
That a few years later, that hope is not a strategy.
Right.
It's like a big saying. And I was like, yeah, that's right. It's if your business is like, if your business is not going to grow without being on Shark Tank, don't plan on it.
Right.
Because it is not. They even told us during when we had our first meeting, getting out there, that statistically you have a better chance of getting into Harvard than getting on Shark Tank.
Wow.
I said, well, what about Purdue? No.
I don't know. That's been changing lately. It's been harder and harder to get into. But okay, so you got the phone call from Shark Tank. I know we've had conversations through the years about how that experience was. Going up in front, and how what is on TV isn't necessarily what you see, right?
I think there was like maybe an 8 to 10 minute segment on TV, and it was really a 2-hour shoot.
Right. So you were standing there for 2 hours, literally going through the producers, directors, whatever, are basically giving you advice, and we want to talk about this and that, right?
Yeah. Well, the way they structured it is you come out and you do that little canned pitch, which I still think mine is the corniest of all.
I've seen some pretty corny ones on there.
Well, but yeah, who has the line, okay, Sharks, who wants to be a dirty capitalist and invest in my soil company? That's really bad.
Yeah. Well, they helped you out with some of that as well,
So
right?
that whole first part was like, I said I did not want to say that. They said you are going to say that. So producers, that part is their baby. The rest of it is just banter back and forth and that is very comfortable. And that is what I feel after raising money now, is how fundraising happens. Right. One of the criticism I've always had with the pitch competition is it's always done on stage. And so you have to factor in not just being an entrepreneur, not just offering a compelling business thesis, but now you have to entertain.
Right. Yeah, you can't be boring on TV, right?
Well, I don't know. I
mean, you can. No one's going to watch, right? But
yeah. But I mean, my thought is you're just there with 5 other people talking about your business.
Yeah, and Shark Tank, everybody sees the glitz and glamour on TV, but as you said, it was a 2-hour experience. There was a lot of conversation that's going on, but the reason that I wanted to kind of bring you on today is that has kind of led you down a path. You deal a lot with entrepreneurs. You deal a lot with fundraising. You know the ins and outs of how to find funding, whether you're at a seed round or all the way up, right? There's a variety of money that is out there, and there's a variety of opportunities. Before we came on today, you were talking about money that is out there to help some local businesses and different things that they're doing that you're working with some local agencies on. After coming off of Shark Tank, I know you went through a whole thing with Pit Moss and all of that, but it has led you down a path of really starting to understand the ecosystem of what's out there for entrepreneurs. And we talk with small businesses that maybe they've got an idea, maybe they're already off and running and they're doing something, but there are opportunities out there that most people don't understand. And one of them that I see a lot of is I didn't realize how integrated a university system is into this process. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Absolutely. Again, back in the early 90s, very little of this was happening. You had a gentleman at Berkeley, and I think he also taught at Stanford for a while, who came up with this idea of an educational program called Lean Startup, and that just exploded across the whole industry, the university industry or universe. So you have more and more of these university-based incubators, accelerators, really helping people learn, one, how to commercialize their product, which is what we specialize here.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, how to begin the process of raising money, formulating your company, all those important things, and protecting your intellectual property as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've had conversations with AJ as well, one of our coworkers, and it's funny how you can get yourself in a lot of trouble based on the situation that you're in, right? So if you're an LLC and you start accepting money and things like along that. But really the big thing is there is a ton of help at a university level. And many times they're not trying to take any part of your business. They're literally there to help you go forward. I know some of the programs that you have are literally helping startups, and I know you and AJ run the Big Sell, which is a pitch competition here. Talk to me a little bit about programs like that.
Yeah. Well, so obviously the Big Sell is a pitch competition, and I think when AJ and I took it over the year before, I actually saw it. It was at the Radisson Ballroom. That's now like a open parking lot.
Yeah, it's an empty lot at this point.
But it probably was the best thing for the competition itself, because now there was never any kind of like in sales you prospect and then you qualify. Okay, so before AJ and I took that program over, I don't believe anybody was ever qualified. They were just like, you can go ahead and pitch. Yeah. And I sat through some really bizarre pitches. So we actually qualify it by having people put in a 2-minute video submission. And now you go to any kind of pitch competition, they're all doing video submissions. And that's actually, I got that idea from going on Shark Tank. They wanted us to send in a video submission. When we sent in our video submission, one of the casting directors called me and said, "Mont, do you mind reshooting this? Just give us a brief, and please don't use the words sphagnum or sequester, Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know, third grade. Yeah. Third grade level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is also providing new skill sets for entrepreneurs. Like, I need to submit a marketing piece. I'm not going to try and fit in a 6-minute pitch in a 2-minute video. Never works.
Right.
Give us the marketing story. Why should we care?
Yes.
So another new skill set. So in this one competition, you have to do a video submission. We get, 30, 40, 50, depending on the year. And we only take in 10 finalists, and then they pitch in this room to 3 judges, and the judges have the final say on who they give the top 3 prizes to.
Right.
So you have developed some great skills, and I guess also from my Shark Tank experience, I believe you have to have a pitch. And as you know, I think you know this, a pitch is just really the summary of an entire business thesis, a business plan that you have to know, because those judges are going to say, well, sounds interesting, but what is your potential, who's your competitor? What is the size of the market? You better know that.
Right. And that's really kind of, when we talk about the pitch, everybody loves the creative side of the pitch. They get really excited to tell their story. It's that 2-minute, real quick. I found a need. Here's where we've gone. Here's our growth. Here's where we're heading. A lot of people struggle with the financial side of it, right? Nobody really gets into that. But, the fun part is telling your story. And as marketers, we're storytellers, and that's what we need to realize, right? So you've got to get that hook. Why am I here? This is what we're doing. Here's how we're growing. My business is worth $500 million. I've sold nothing yet, right? We've all heard those Shark Tank stories. But okay, so let's flip the script here, because I want to keep within time of where we're typically at. You took all of these ideas, you took all of these things that you pulled from Shark Tank and all the companies that you've dealt with here at the university, and all of these different funding opportunities, and you said, you're still part of Pitmos, right? So the guys they're running it, and you sit on the board and everything. But you said, I've got another idea. I've got something, and it's really interesting to me where you went with this. You stayed in the same ag space, but you went into more ag tech and integrating that. So explain to me what Plantennas is.
Yeah. So, backstory on that was being around Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, I was trying to sell pit moss into commercial greenhouses. I kept seeing a trend over and over again. I never saw any 20-year-old greenhouse operators or greenhouse owners. We were 60, 70, 80-year-olds. You ask, like, do you have any younger family members wanting to take over this multi-million-dollar family business? No, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Too much, physical labor. Profits aren't what they used to be. And I, over a series of maybe 5-6 times of hearing this, I'm like, there's a trend here, and this is solvable with automation, robotics. And that's coming from somebody who was really not, I have a history degree. So I'm not super technical. I'm not STEM at all. But I recognized something right away. And my thought on that was, just like Elon Musk runs a manufacturing plant that uses robotics, every part that comes down the assembly line has to have a unit level sensor. The robot can scan it, knows exactly what that is, knows exactly where to put it into the car. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's eliminating jobs for humans, but it's an efficient system. Now, in the case of the greenhouse operators and nurseries, they can't find enough laborers to do this stuff. And it's seasonal. You have about 80% of your revenues falling within Easter weekend to Father's Day weekend. You're not going to survive on a seasonal job that only lasts for that period of time, and then you're laid off the rest of the time.
Right.
They have been utilizing, migrant labor. That seems to be problematic if that's going to be their business plan going forward.
Right.
So the only option is invest in some robotics, invest in some things that can do predictive human labor. My thought was we need a unit level sensor. Where would that most likely be installed? Where should it come in? I thought a propagation pot that if it was equipped with a sensor at the very beginning when you incorporate the seed or the cutting into the soil, at the very beginning stages of the production of new plants, that would be the ideal place. And people say, well, there's tags and there's, stickers you can put on. The greenhouse environment is one of the worst on the planet.
Right.
It's hot, it's steamy, it's
wet. I mean,
you walk into a greenhouse facility, there's tags all over the floor. So anything that's just stuck in the soil, it's going to get separated.
Right.
So we created a product that is a sensor tag with a hole in the middle. It's a donut, essentially. The taproot will grow through it and will be collared by the tag. The biodegradable pot will disappear. That plant will always have a sensor tag to it then. And so from its entire life cycle, whether that's going to be a berry producing plant or a tomato producing plant, it will always be scannable. So if you're looking to track where tomatoes come from, every time a robot harvester harvests that plant, it can also scan the tag. This is plant number 67 in rows 3.
Right. So essentially what you have is a hole. The roots grow through the hole of this tag, and it's almost like we'll call it a belt for the plant, right? And then
it's a bracelet.
It's a bracelet, right? Which is trackable tag. Depending upon if it's RFID or NFC, based on distance, a robot can go by there within a set number of feet and scan everything that is in that area.
Yeah.
So that's on the commercial side, but on the local side, on the more
retail,
maybe somebody at home, you can actually use the mobile app that you guys are developing and scan it and take all of that in. So all of this information comes in. It basically goes up to the cloud, right? And you've kind of talked about it. So you've given it a new term for which I love.
We took the URL, but I hesitate in saying because we found out that there is actually a trademark.
Okay. But
we're watching it because they have a maintenance fee due in June of this year, and if they don't pay it, we're jumping on it.
All right, so we'll just say that there is this, this
a really
cloud,
incredible good name.
Yes, really great name. So, okay, so currently you've got product, you're ready to start selling. The app is being developed by, I believe, somebody else that was on Shark Tank as well.
Abesh with Flora sensors. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I've seen kind of preliminary.
He's also from Munster, by the way.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So another close. But so you have all of this, and you're getting ready, right? And you're excited. This thing is going to be put out there, and it's revolutionary, right? So it's basically the way you've looked at this is anyone can use it in any capacity, right? So somebody that's local can use it just to kind of monitor their own little greenhouse, but then commercial developers can do all kinds of huge things with it and tracking and all this other stuff. Where do you see this thing in 5-10 years?
The retail version, in 5 to 10 years, I hope to have established some commercial customers by then. I really do feel like our biggest problem there is these folks have been on this traditional, labor-focused business plan, and we're trying to show them that, hey, you could save a lot of money from labor costs since you can't find laborers anyway, but the idea of investing in a $30,000 robot scares these guys a little bit.
Right.
So it's a very old-fashioned industry.
Right.
Very hard to change. So we transitioned over to the retail product for a very high value crop, which I don't think we can say at a Purdue radio station. But it's a high value crop that in certain states around the country it's legal, in certain states it's not. In their state it's not.
Gotcha.
So in those states, people who want to grow these plants, they can legally grow, I think, between 6 and 10, depending on the state.
Right.
And so we have a package of six plantanas. They are censored with near-field communication tags. You can actually, anybody who has a phone has near-field communication capacities on their phone. You can download our app. It will scan and go directly up into a cloud. We're calling it the plant registry right now. Another name for it in the future. But what you can do there is anything you can do on Ancestry.com, you can do it on our plant registry.
Right.
So you want to take pictures and put up there? Fine. Do you want to test the genetics to make sure that the strain that you bought was actually the strain that you bought, or is it like did someone defraud you?
Right. And you're buying plants off the street again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or if you planted a bunch of seeds that say, hey, this was from this strain. The other opportunity for us to create some revenue on that site is pretty revolutionary. We can incorporate AI in recommendations on crossbreeding, so that we feel like the AI can say this strain and this strain will give you this level of THC.
Right.
Now on the other side, this is not strictly for that product.
Of course. You're just saying that there's a huge opportunity.
Huge opportunity, but this is also for amateur crossbreeders, flowers, for new varieties of plants. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of your listeners probably enjoy a little plate of avocado toast in the morning.
I cannot look at an avocado without thinking about you at this point.
Really?
Yeah, because you shared the story of the Haas avocado.
Yeah, it's 90% of the avocado market right now in North America is the Haas avocado.
So those that don't know, the Haas avocado, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it started from a postman that grew an avocado tree. I'm assuming it's a tree, right?
Right.
In his front yard. His kids brought in the avocados and said it was a unique flavor. And then all of the avocados that the United States now sells go back to that one single tree.
Exactly. And that tree doesn't exist anymore. It died, I think, in the 70s. But every tree comes from that. It's called a clone. So when you're crossbreeding, you're actually growing, two varieties to get to seed. Every seed on that plant is going to be unique. And so obviously someone had grown a unique seed, actually sold it to this postman to be a root cutting, because he was actually doing some grafting, which is another way of, doing cross-pollination stuff. The cutting didn't take, so he actually grew the original root system that they thought was just not worthy of growing any plants. That actually is the one that is the Haas.
Right.
So it's very strange. And this is billions of dollars every year now.
Right.
Billions of dollars coming from that one thing that postman grew in his yard. So
what we're saying is using plantanas and figuring out your new strain.
Being an amateur cross-pollinator,
right,
you could come up with and there's going to be opportunities for this, because so many people are getting away from genetically modified produce. They don't want it. There's a lot of opportunities to cross-pollinate heritage varieties of apples, any kind of produce.
Right.
So there's all kinds of stuff like that. And then really I kind of learned about all this through the floral culture industry. Every year people are paid, very large sums of money. The few years ago, the knockout rose became a huge hit. Everyone was buying the knockout rose. That was the result of a cross-pollination.
So tomorrow's Valentine's Day. What do we have what do I need to go look for today?
I mean, that's also a big area. Roses are also something that are cross-pollinated quite a lot. So this is, I think it's going to be big in that, industry that is forbidden in the state of Indiana at this point. But I also think there's opportunities for amateur crossbreeders in this, and it's just one of our little potential markets.
Right. There's many that you can go toward. Yeah. All right. So to wrap things up, if you were talking to somebody that's out there that has a small business, maybe has an idea of something that they want to do, is looking to get funding, what are some of the recommendations you'd make?
Yeah. We have our 6-step process here at Purdue Northwest CMAC. One, talk to somebody, see if it's a viable concept. It doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what the inventor thinks, it matters what the customers think. So in our 6 steps, the first step is concept viability. Second step is, are you viable as an entrepreneur? Can you get up and give a pitch? So we always encourage people to go see the folks at 1 Million Cups and give a pitch at 1 Million Cups. If you're not really willing to do that, I'm not sure you're going to be successful. In our limited resources here, we're not going to spend them on you if you're not willing to do that. So step 3, intellectual property. Is it something that's patentable?
Which universities can help you with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we at this university, our students actually they can keep their intellectual property if they come up with something. So far, Dr. Latif and the Office of Commercialization Research is actually helping fund provisional patent filings for students at this point. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Step. I
think we're at 4.
Step 4.
No, that's fine.
Customer viability.
Yep.
That's where we actually ask you to go out and go speak to customers, and not just hey, look at my new product, isn't this cool? But actually go out there and actually gather data about product market fit. It's based on the National Science Foundation's Innovation Core program, where you have to go and speak to 100 potential customers. Now, they'll also give you a $50,000 grant. We're not going to do that. You have to go talk to 30,000 on your own. Not 30,000, 30.
Yeah.
Just talk to 30 potential customers.
Which is not that hard.
No, it's not. And you're going to learn a lot about, because I learned so much about plantanas. One of the first people we spoke to was an attorney in San Diego who was in the cannabis space, also a PhD in botany, and he said, I see this as a great opportunity for a anti-infringement device for patented plants. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great application.
See, another opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So we always do that. So step 4. After step 4, after we realize this is a good product market fit, the university will offer what's called a SAFE agreement, simple agreement for future equity. We take 90% of the business. No, I'm kidding. It's 1 or 2% of the business, but we're justifying our work. And then I hire mechatronics students, electrical engineering technology students, and mechanical engineering technology students to do prototype development for are non-technical startup founders.
Very cool. Yeah. So obviously, like I said, the university is kind of a space. If you have a university by you and you have an idea, go have some conversations. There's a variety of money that is sitting out there, whether it's the state, federal, things that you just don't know about.
More money than good ideas.
There really is. I've heard that recently. I'm working with AJ as well on. We have a thing called Venture Ready Financials, and if anyone's interested in kind of learning more about that, you can go to venturereadyfinancials.com. But that is the financial side of it, right? And there's so much opportunity, and we're just trying to get that out there. So I thought it would be great.
Well, Matt, I also would just interject here. I know you're short on time, but the thing about like somebody going on Shark Tank or doing a pitch competition or going and talking to investors, these people will do this multiple times a year. Okay, this might be your first. Maybe if you're an Elon Musk, this might be your fifth or sixth.
Right.
They're going to have a great advantage over you because they understand, like the legal documents. They're going to understand the terminology, the vocabulary of startups. And so that's one of the things I really think that entrepreneurs should focus on. Learn what a valuation is. Learn, the financials. You need to know this stuff.
Yeah. The acronyms that pop out as well, right? So,
absolutely.
Okay.
So I think that's great about Verify and what you guys are doing.
We've got this perfect match, right? Between, Mont and AJ. They do a fabulous job here. But anyways, Mont, I know you're a little bit under the weather today. I apologize, but thank you for being on today. I think, our listeners, they get a better idea of kind of what that process is. I know we talk about Shark Tank all the time, and everyone kind of has that one defining moment in their life. I believe Pit Moss was yours that led you down this path of where you are today, and you've got some really cool ideas that are always coming out of here and things that you're doing. So thank you again for being with us.
Thanks for inviting me.
And for those of you out there, make sure that you subscribe, and we will see you next time.
The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.